Hello, everyone. Greetings from Canada. I'm Dr. Linyuan Guo-Brennan, a professor of international and global education at the University of Prince Edward Island, Canada. I'm also an adjunct professor of global leadership at Troy University in the United States.
I'm Dr. Michael Guo-Brennan, an associate professor and director of the MPA program at Troy University.
We are very pleased to have this opportunity to share our work with you through this Sustainability in Global Environment conference.
We hope you enjoy our presentation.
Sustainability has been a core issue of our academic work because it affects all individuals, organizations, and societies. It's an important leadership issue. Our presentation focuses on building welcoming and inclusive communities as socially responsible global citizenship action and commitment to sustainable development in organizations and communities. Today, individuals, organizations, and systems around the world are deeply affected by significant global issues, such as COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical conflicts such as Israel-Gaza war, migration, digital advancement and divide, growing inequality, economic uncertainty, environmental degradation, and unforeseen opportunities associated with global innovation. Sustainability has three pillars: environmental, social, and economic. Environmental dimension involves managing resources and environment. Social dimensions focuses on equity, justice, and community well-being. Economic sustainability requires businesses to balance profit with environmental and social considerations. When these three pillars are aligned, human well-being, prosperity, and environmental sustainability are achieved. Global issues affect all three pillars of sustainability. They also affect all people and societies around the world. For this reason, the 194 member states of United Nations collectively endorsed the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development as a global blueprint for creating a sustainable future for all people around the world. In this presentation, we focus on one significant global issue: global migration. As of June 2024, about 281 million people moved to another country to live and work. This is about 3.5% of the global population. Nearly two-thirds were labor migrants. This number also includes 120 million people who were forced to leave their homes or home countries due to wars, conflicts, natural disasters, and human rights violations.
Increases in global migration also result in increased societal diversity. Global mobility affects workplaces and societies, and this is clearly illustrated in this chart here. This chart shows immigration patterns for foreign-born persons beginning in 1960. And if you look at the chart, as you can see, in 1960, the majority of immigrants, the overwhelming majority of immigrants, came from Europe. And they generally shared a similar cultural history, religion, and often language as the long-term dominant population. This made integration work moderately well, and the idea of a melting pot was the common theme in the U.S. at that time. As you can see, their majority came from England from Europe, and then much smaller numbers came from Latin America and everywhere else, and then Asia as well. Very few from the Middle East. But since the 1980s, things have changed dramatically. More immigrants are arriving from Asia and Latin America. Often, they have different cultural backgrounds, religious practices, history, or political understandings. And this creates increasing challenges for government leaders to integrate newcomers into the existing system. And clearly, as you can see, beginning in 1980, Latin American, in the 1980s, number of people from Latin America surpassed the number coming from Europe. And as well as from Asia, has increased more than the number of people coming from Europe. So today, the majority of immigrants come from Latin America, followed by Asia, and then Europe is far behind those. Similar patterns occurred in Canada. Again, in the 1950s through the early 70s, the majority of immigrants came from Europe. And much like the US, beginning in the 1980s, that changed dramatically. But instead of most immigrants coming from Latin America, as was the case in the US, today the majority of immigrants come from Asia. And Europe is far behind that. And Latin America and Europe are fairly close. And then followed by those from the Middle East and Africa. So similar changes in patterns, just different sources of the foreign-born population between the U.S. and Canada. But again, both countries have seen dramatic changes in who's coming to their countries. As you can imagine, increases in immigrant diversity has substantial impacts on the society as a whole. One of the most dramatic areas is in the makeup of the workforce. In 2023, foreign-born accounted for 18.6% of the U.S. civilian labor force, up from 18.1% in 2022. Hispanics continue to account for nearly one-half of the foreign-born labor force, and Asians accounted for about 1/4. Foreign-born men continue to participate in the labor force at considerably higher rates in 2023 than their native-born counterparts. In contrast, 56.1% of foreign-born women were in the labor force, lower than the participant rate of 57.6% of native-born women. Also, in 2023, foreign-born workers were more likely than native-born workers to be employed in service occupations, natural resources, construction, and maintenance occupations, and in production, transportation, and material moving occupations. Foreign-born workers were less likely than native-born workers to be employed in management, professional, and related occupations, and in sales and office occupations. And this data comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Global migration impacts both societies and organizations because it shapes economic development, social dynamics, and political landscapes. It has increased diversity in organizations and communities. It demands globally competent leaders, professionals, and citizens for greater social cohesion. On one hand, the increased diversity within communities creates new challenge for enhancing people connections and social cohesion. On the other hand, diversity is important for innovation. Solving global issues require inclusive policies, an open environment, and strong cross-cultural collaboration in organizations. The people and social dimension of sustainability is an important organizational and leadership issue. Organizations and societies deeply affected by global migration need globally competent leaders. Global competence refers to awareness and knowledge of global issues, appreciation and respect for multiple perspectives and worldviews, intercultural competence for communication and collaboration, and strong commitment to global common good, including prosperity, well-being, and sustainable resources and environment for people in all communities and societies.
Now that we've provided a firm background on the idea of global competence in creating welcoming communities, let's take a look at the results from research we've been doing in this area. We've applied a mixed methods approach collecting both quantitative and qualitative data to measure perceptions, values, understandings, and concepts and beliefs about immigration from government workers who deal with immigration, local government officials, service workers that work directly with immigrants, as well as with immigrants themselves. And in this way, we can understand what's working, what's not working, how best to serve the immigrant population to make them feel welcome and included in the local society, because that's really important, because that helps build community and social cohesion and reduces racism, resentment, and issues like that. So hopefully you'll find these results interesting. We think it's an important contribution to this area. The next series of slides will present some results from research that we've done in the past, including from a recent book I published in Global Competent Governance and other works that Dr. Linyuan Guo-Brennan has published in these areas. Much of our research focuses on globally competent leadership. And here I present results from 4 different questions in data we've collected. One of the important factors in developing globally competent leadership is if you feel you are globally competent. And based on surveys and interviews with local government officials and representatives from nonprofit agencies, the vast majority agree or strongly agree that they are globally competent. As you can see in these charts here, the brown and sort of taupe figures represent strongly agree and agree. And so the next chart, I feel confident working with people from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Again, there's very strong agreement that people are confident working with those that are different. When looking at if organizational success requires globally competent leadership, again, a vast majority of folks believe that that's very important in today's world. And then finally, organizations should promote global competency through professional development, in other words, job training. And again, large majorities think this is very important, agreeing or strongly agreeing with that statement. Through our work, we've identified several implications for globally competent leadership to create a welcoming community. First of all, it's important to build cultural bridges. Local leaders face many challenges building connections between the numerous groups within a community. Building bridges requires that issues of racism, discrimination, and other challenges be acknowledged and discussed openly. It's also important to encourage acceptance. Leaders need followers, and followers must be willing to be led by their leaders. Leadership must work with both the local population and immigrants, refugees, and other newcomers to encourage acceptance and understanding among followers. Along with this, it's really important that leaders are able to bring people together. Programs and activities that encourage newcomers to integrate into the local system are important, as long as these activities bring locals and newcomers together so that those from away are no longer seen as strangers, but as friends. And leaders have an important role in promoting belonging. Bringing people together to create a welcoming and inclusive environment where difference is valued begins with making everyone, including those who come from away, feel as if they belong and are part of the community-wide social system. Achieving a positive sense of belonging creates a positive and sustainable environment where different understandings are accepted and individual perspectives are valued. This promotes inclusivity and acceptance. Leadership can work towards this goal by promoting a welcoming and inclusive attitude and approach to governance. Thank you for taking the time to view this short webinar. Here's a list of several recent publications that discuss the issues we've introduced here. And I encourage you to check them out.